who I have been trying to, well, not trying, we hooked this up a while back and I've just been waiting for this interview because Nikita, Nikita helps creatives and online business owners who have chronic illnesses. And for those of you who know me, you know that I dealt with Lyme disease for 10 years. I was in bed, couldn't speak for parts of it. And long story short, I feel like now that I'm not relapsing all the time, I just need to go, 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 go. And now I'm in this creative entrepreneurial space where like the hustle is real. And Nikita has this awesome message that just like a light bulb went off when I heard her talking at one of her free webinars, where, a lot of people, 40% of Americans have chronic illnesses. And of course, type A entrepreneurs are going to be some of those people. So sometimes we just need to be chronic illness warriors and be creatives working on our business. So I have hard questions for you because this is a tricky subject. I actually wrote a Lyme disease article a couple of years ago. This is the only one I got slack for, like a lot of slack. Because I was talking about like how to have Lyme and carry a job. And I offered resources for people who cannot carry a job and, how to collect disability and stuff like that. But there are so many people who just can't. So when do you decide I have these passions, I am sick, but I'm going to still go for, I'm going to be a part of the hustle?
Oh, see, when you say hustle, I cringe.
Yeah.
Like literally a bit of me kind of cringes. I think, I guess it's a question when or if you decide, I'm going to not pursue like the traditional working for the man and pursue my own business while living with chronic illness.
Mm-hmm. It's probably a better question.
Okay. Okay. So I think everyone comes to this path at some point in their journey, and it looks different for everyone. I have seen women who find the confidence to be more vocal about living with the chronic illness in their job so that they can more articulate what that means for them in a corporate setting. And then you have me, like people like me, who's like, you know what? I don't even want to deal with that. It's not even that I don't want to have the conversations. I just don't like it. Like, I just don't want to be under someone else's time constraints. For me personally, I feel like even if I didn't have chronic illness, I think I still would have an issue with working for people. Like it's a thing. So I think you could be on either or, but I think at either side of it, there is an understanding that you have to be able to acknowledge and know that chronic illness doesn't define you, but it is a part of you. Like it is a part of you, and that needs to be articulated in the boundaries and the conversations you're having with the different areas of your life. And that includes work, that includes the business.
What about when you're having a flare up and you're in the thick of it, you have your momentum going, and money is an issue? When do we make time to just stop as a person with chronic illness?
Yeah. So again, good question, Jess. I think it's...
And then you have to think like, I need a lot of money for treating my chronic illness too. So it's tricky.
Yeah. It is tricky. And I think I can't help but think it goes back to community and communication. It's one of the biggest things in my personal journey, and women who I serve and connect with who are living with chronic illness that is not in remission, that is constantly in flux. I'm at a point in my journey where I more often than not in remission. Even in remission, you guys, to me is like so like funny because remission still has issues. Like we're still dealing with certain issues in remission. It's just different than when it's not.
Yeah.
So I have found for us who are in not in remission and we are working for someone else, it is again learning to educate and know what your rights are as a person living with chronic illness, what is allowed as far as like the job corporate things, what can be done as far as HR. I think a lot of times the women I talk to who are in corporate, who are living with chronic illness, who are in remission, they're so afraid of, well, if people know I have chronic illness, if they know what's going on, I will lose my job, I will lose my benefits. And that is a valid fear. Like I don't want to discount that is a fear, that is a feeling that can happen. But 90% of the women I talk to who finally, you know what, realize that they have to embrace and this is a part of them and communicate it to the right people, they have so much more relief. Like they have the support from HR and companies like that that will be like, you know what, we can't, you know, we'll give you disability with pay, things like that in a corporate position. This becomes a little bit more trickier when you're running your own business and you don't have those types of departments. So when you have your own business, it is really about curating building a business around that reality that we will have remission, like we will not be in remission at times. We will have times when we're out. And so part of that to me is like creating pricing that's sustainable, creating offers that are sustainable in all of the different forms of living with chronic illness. And this is something that again goes back to that embodiment and embracement and communication, that it's a part of me, it's not all of me, but I do have to plan that this is a reality. And it removes a lot of the fear in a lot of different ways. I know for myself personally, and I like to say this because privilege is real, like not just like color privilege, but lifestyle is real. Like, so for me, I'm married, I have a husband, he has a job which has insurance. So I have a matter of privilege where if I am in a flare up and I can't do anything, I'm not as freaked out by that because my husband is, his job supports that. I have clients who they are the main source of income and they have those things going on in their business. And even more so is it that they create those type of facilitation in their business that allows them the flexibility to not have to be so present, and they have the income to support them because they built their business around that reality. So I hope that answered your question. That's like a really long way of answering that question, but it looks different for everybody.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, it was a loaded question to begin with. But I'm curious what you mean by sustainable pricing.
Yeah.
Where,
So
and I'm sure it does look different for someone who has low ticket offers, like an author, versus someone with a high ticket offer.
yeah.
And you know, you could get 5 referrals, and if one bites, then you're good for a couple of months. So what does sustainable look like?
So that's, you know, I think sustainable looks again different for everybody. Jess, you're gonna keep hearing me say that. My like the reason why I say that because in my I guess you could say mythology or way of supporting women in a business that they're running is that there is no one right way to create a sustainable pricing model or business in your business. It's about the way that serves you the most. It's not going to look the same for everyone else. And it's not going to look the same based on what services or products or things that you're offering, but it does have to align with you and your clients. I am so like, this is a pet peeve. This is a challenge that I find that we're working to rethink, is that the market is going to always tell you how you create your pricing and what's in your offers. Yeah, that might be true for someone who doesn't have to worry that every, 3 or 4 weeks that they may not be able to work. Like that works for a lot of people, but for a lot of people that doesn't work. One of the most sustainable ways that I think as far as pricing and modules or model a way of running a business is having multiple sources of income that come from different ways that can be delivered in different ways. I'm a coach, so for me, I have a lot more flexibility, I feel, and my clients know because I've built my business around them and me, where I can deliver what I need to deliver from the bed or from an office desk, from the sofa or from my phone on the way to the hospital if I actually have to do that. I have
Yeah.
created a model in my business where it gives me not only flexibility in my day, but also in my week, my month, and also in my pay, like what I'm taking home. So the pricing model for those different things look differently for the different areas where I'm bringing in different incomes for different things. But I have something, like I always like to tell my clients, they should always have something in their business that doesn't require them, to show up. And in a lot of different ways, that is, outside marketing, affiliate marketing, one and done, and it runs on its own, where it is happening. You don't have to be present. Then I also believe if you have a business where it's community driven, you build a community that also understands what it means that life happens, right? It creates a whole different pressure if you're creating a community who's like, everything's on 10. Well, that's not real. Like, that's not real for us. And I think that has a lot to do with the sustainable model of running a business while living with chronic illness, is that a lot of times the business advice that we get out there is to run a business either one to thousands and you're producing all the time and you're going all the time, or you're producing these high ticket, like these high ticket offers that require you to show up more consistently in order to acquire those high tickets. I feel like there is always a balance in finding a middle in that. And it's about really articulating, to me, it goes back to your core values, it goes back to your reality and how you best want to show up. Like, how you best want to show up when you are in a flare up. I do believe you can show up when you are in a flare up, but it's a way that feels good enough, not perfect. Like, good
Yeah.
enough, not perfect. I'm gonna say that again. That feels good enough, but not perfect. And you can still see success that way.
Yeah, I think one of the first things I ever heard you say in one of your talks was, you don't need to do a live event. I was like, I don't. And that's just something, there's a lot of like hope marketing where we do things because we see other people doing them.
Yes.
We have coaches who say this is the way. And speaking of like trigger words, boot camp, accelerator, get X done in 30 days. Like these are trigger words for someone with a chronic illness because
Yeah.
there's this pressure of getting it done in a certain way and really hustling. And it doesn't factor in your privilege or your lack of privilege when it comes
Yeah.
to your financial situation, how much money you have to invest in supplements and drugs. And it's just very nice to know, okay, we don't have to do it a certain way. Perfectionism is a big thing, I think, with chronic illness warriors because we don't have control over a lot of things. So it's nice to just feel like something is in control. And for me, that's why I was like, I need to do a live event. I heard it works. But it's nice to know that some things you can. Oh, who's that?
That's my Zoe, and someone's
Aw.
delivering something. And she has said, get away from this door. I'm sorry.
I just saw my parents' dogs today, and when they see dogs on the street, they just go for the jugular. And they're really little and loud, so it's just embarrassing to walk with them. Okay, so I lost my train of thought, but I did have another question about staying creative when you're going through a flare-up. I know that like we get sick, even if you have the flu, even if you don't have a chronic illness, and we can lose momentum. So I wanted to ask what you do for your clients when they're having a flare-up to keep them inspired and going.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And sorry about Zoe. She is a
It's okay. Dogs are
tiny
the best.
10-pound sheep who thinks she is a shepherd. Um, but uh, yeah, for creativity, when it comes to creativity, I think it's that love, it's that self love of how you best give um, that fills your cup versus someone else's. And when you are like feeling down and out in that flare up and all of the things that are happening, it is hard to show up in your creative like juices. And I feel like it's about giving yourself permission that it's not going to look like it would if you weren't. And that's okay. So creativity could look different than if you were not in that moment, right? Like, so for me and my clients, they, I have lots of clients that are like graphic designers and artists and painters, and they're like, I can't barely lift my arm today, and they're beating themselves up for that.
Yeah.
And I always like to tell them, I'm like, but what other creative things do you do that lights you up even when you're feeling bad? And for some of them, it's really thinking about and planning what they're going to do when they're feeling better, or really giving. A lot of my clients love being a kind of like service is huge for them. Service of being able to help others even when they're not feeling great. So we spend a lot of time on talking about how can you get creative and giving to others during those different times. And everyone is different. There is a concept called the happiness triggers, which is a part of positive psychology about the well-being, how to be resilient and happy during challenging times, how to overcome that. And many of us don't know what those are. Even when things are crappy, we have things that we can tap into that helps us feel creative, that helps us feel good even in those really difficult times. So I definitely would say pay attention to what fills your cup even when things are difficult. And I think we just don't pay attention enough to find out what it is sometimes, because we are so consumed by the pain, which is totally normal. I have totally been there. But one of the things that I discovered was that I love to doodle. Like, it doesn't have to be a certain thing, but I
Me
love
too.
to doodle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I do. And it's not like I'm going to sell it to somebody. I mean, I might one day, but like, it's my creative cup filling. And I think if you learn how to be okay with, acceptance is not resigning to that things can't get better. Acceptance is just being content with the moment, right? Being content that, well, I am in
Yeah.
pain, this sucks, but I'm alive, I'm breathing today, and I believe in the thought of what can I do versus what can't I do. I just think that thought alone is so powerful. It's a thought that I feel like we have to practice, especially living with chronic illness. Um, and that's part of why my marketing is always like, even if you feel limited, like, what if you could? What would change? And just that thought in mind can spark creativity.
Yeah. I wonder if you have ever felt this way, but I look back at my hardest days physically where I thought I might be dead by now.
Yeah.
Because I had doctors telling me it's inconclusive, but you might have ALS, you might have MS, you might have lupus, you might have HIV. Let's retest it. I was like, oh, okay. So it took a long time to figure out what was wrong. And in that time, I did become more accepting. I was
Mm-hmm.
doing laps around my kitchen island. That was my exercise. And then I made it to the sidewalk. And I feel like I look back at that, and I have a friend, Tim, who had leukemia twice. And we kind of laugh about how much more at peace were when our
Yeah.
mortality was right there versus when you get out of it and you pretend it's the worst of it was all a dream.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can kind of feel like a machine where I'm just on
Yeah.
the clock. I forgot
Yeah.
how bad it can be. And yeah, you kind of remind me of my mom, like, oh, remember the glass is half full, not half empty. And sometimes it's just about, yeah, being grateful for the opportunity to be alive and have that second every day you're alive, you have another chance to get a little better.
Yeah,
or or face
yeah,
your
I,
challenges.
yeah, I think you said it. Just this is the thing that I like to think about even in my own like really crappy days, like where you do, like you said, you feel like, okay, today's like I've gone to bed thinking or praying like, well, if I don't wake up in the morning, this is it. That's how bad the pain is, y'all. Like that's how intense things can be. And my clients, and I'm sure you feel like we become really comfortable with mortality. Like we become like probably it's very uncomfortable. Like even my husband who doesn't live with chronic illness, I'll say things. He's like, I can't believe you. I'm like, you haven't had to face these kind of things before. So for you, yeah, like, burning your hand feels really big right now. But I have literally gone to a hospital thinking I'm not leaving today. I have literally gone to sleep praying, well, if I don't, wake up, that's okay. And here's the things I'm grateful for. In those moments, that's the thing that helps you be at peace, is like accepting, and it's really gratitude just for the fact that you have come to this moment. And it's not to say like let's not like sugarcoat the fact there are times I'm pissed, I'm mad, I'm like, I hate this. I'm in like, when I first was diagnosed, I was just married, uh just married, and I was in my 20s and I was fine up until then, and all of a sudden I wasn't. So yeah, there's times in my life where I've definitely was not in the most, positive mindset, and there are still times during the year, and even now, where my husband has to be like, let's really try to think of some good things right now, because this is not a good place for us to be at. But it is important that we allow all of those emotions, and I will never forget a therapist that told me this, to flow like water. She's like, just think of these things like water. They're passing, they will come and go. Just think of them like flowing like water. And that is something without any judgment. We don't look at a river and be like, oh my goodness, oh, water is moving too fast. Like we don't look at water that way. And we should really tap into looking at our thoughts and feelings about living with chronic illness and running a business, whether it's going the way we want, the way it's not going. It's all an experiment anyway in business, and everything else that's happening to us personally. I have found solace in thinking, this is water. This is happening. It's
Mhm.
flowing like water. And I don't judge it. I don't look at myself a different kind of way. I just recognize this is part of the process.
Yeah. Well, I could keep you forever. I have one more question, and then I want to talk about your upcoming masterclass.
Okay.
But you are a community-driven person. You've built
Yes.
a big community of warriors. And I love that it's on brand for you to hang out in bed and coach people. So you also on the back end are one of the most collaborative connectors I've ever met. Like I've been connected to amazing people in the publishing industry because of you. So I just wanted to ask why you do that, why it's important to you to connect people, even if you're removing yourself from the equation.
Oh, that's a deep Nikita why. I love service. I love being of service to people. I love seeing people thrive. I love seeing communities come together to support one another. I have seen the power of that in my own life. If you guys follow me a while or listen to my podcast, there have been moments in my life that if I didn't have someone send someone my way at a certain time in my life, I don't know if I necessarily would be here talking with you and, with all of you and Jess. Like, I just feel in the power of community and connection. And I don't worry about whether or not it's coming back to me, or if it's coming back to me, I just give it freely, because I feel it fills my cup more than anything that I do. It's also something that I feel like I'm naturally good at. So it's like a gift that I have been given that I think it's kind of crazy to kind of keep in a jar somewhere. Like, it's mine. Like, it's not serving anybody like that. So yeah, I love thinking of people And so it makes it easier for me to connect people with other people because it's not about me, it's really about other people.
Yeah. It's like hedonism for happy people. Or it's like altruism, making altruism about, or making hedonism about altruism. What am I trying to say? When you're happy,
I,
you just want to share, and it like selfishly you want to help people, you know?
yeah, and I feel like that's the thing we all need. I feel like so many of us are walking around the world thinking we're alone or we're not doing something right or we're not doing enough of something. And if I can just be like, hey, there's someone that gets you or has been through what you've been through, it could shift the way you view yourself, the way you view life, business, everything. I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming today. I really was looking forward to this. I love talking to you. And I wanted to ask before you go, you have an upcoming masterclass. Who's it for? When is it? What's up with your new masterclass?
Yeah, thank you for having me so much, Jess. I have really enjoyed this too. Thank you. My masterclass is called, it's basically about growing your business and transforming the way you view yourself in life, living with chronic illness confidently. And I believe that every thing can be solved with a little clarity and confidence. And in this masterclass, I'm going to be sharing a framework that has really helped me um, foster that and grow that and cultivate that in myself and in my clients, as well as how that has helped our businesses to grow. So that's definitely what this is about. So if you're looking for something beyond just do this, do that, and you're looking for more a holistic approach to growing a business, this is the masterclass for you.
Awesome. And I have actually cried watching Nikita's
Oh
talks.
my God.
And like I said, I'm a bit of a working machine, so it's hard to make me cry, but you were just
Oh my gosh.
inspiring.
Thank you,
Happy
Jess.
tears. Happy
Okay,
tears.
good. Good. Good.
All right. Thank you so much for this. We'll talk soon.